You may have heard this week that a jury in California decided Monsanto's popular Roundup weed killer led to a couple's cancer diagnosis. The jury awarded the couple more than $2 billion in damages. To quite the contrary, the Environmental Protection Agency recently reaffirmed its findings that the chemical is safe.
We recently told you about a new first-of-its-kind study in Pullman. Tonight, I take a closer look at the study and the potential impacts. The Palouse is known for gently rolling hills of grain and lentils. It's also known for farmers with a passion deeply rooted in this soil.
These people are trying to do the best they can every day to provide a good food source for people, but at the same time, they want to be good stewards of their resources.
So Rolling Hills Farms in Spangle is in direct seed mode today, placing seed and fertilizer with computerized precision.
And they have a line in the field, and that tractor runs that line to help mitigate overlap and overuse of chemicals or fertilizers or even seed.
It's just one example of conservation agriculture called direct seed and no-till farming.
We're standing on barley stubble from last year.
Ty Meyer heads up Pacific Northwest Direct Seed Association, an organization that promotes this type of sustainable agriculture.
The system is built around keeping erosion and sediment from reaching streams.
That's good for the fish and it's good for us. And he notes there's one weed control product that really launched farmers away from using heavy equipment to chew up the landscape. It's called glyphosate. You know it as Roundup.
It's absolutely led to high rates of adoption of conservation across our country. In the past, this wasn't feasible. You know, you just had too many issues to deal with when you weren't tilling the ground.
When Monsanto introduced Roundup, it essentially became a game changer.
And it's not just out in the rural communities. It's at the house, it's on the shelves in town to buy. So when you look at the widespread use of it, it's a major component of society today.
Which is why it's now the most heavily used agricultural chemical in the history of the world.
Did you check the methods?
And in our little corner of the world, a Washington State University researcher is raising serious questions about the safety of glyphosate.
This is sort of a red flag that maybe we should be concerned about our great-grandchildren.
There have been studies of glyphosate in the past. Why was your study different?
No one in the past has ever looked at the generational impacts of glyphosate.
Dr. Skinner and his fellow researchers exposed pregnant rats to glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup. There were no apparent ill effects on the pregnant rat or even their babies. But listen to this. The researchers found an astounding number of diseases and other health problems in the second and third generation offspring of exposed rats. You'll hear the researchers refer to those as the F2, F3 generation. What kinds of diseases?
So there's high rates of prostate disease, approximately 40% of the male population, high rates of testis disease, ovarian disease.
I looked at the increased susceptibility of obesity in our rat population.
And what happened?
Well, in the F2 and F3 generation, there was an increased susceptibility to obesity to roughly around 40 to 45%.
One of the striking things we saw is that when the F2, the grand offspring, were bred to the F3 generation, 30% of the females either died or they lost all of their pups during the birth process.
So the natural question, what does this mean to all of us?
When we see something in something like a rat, we suspect that the same thing potentially can go on in humans. And frankly, Monsanto had no idea that this had generational effects. This is really the first study. Now it'll be interesting to see what Monsanto does in response to this.
Monsanto is owned by Bayer. I asked for their response and they told me in part, Bayer and other glyphosate producers have conducted numerous multi-generational studies of glyphosate, and those studies have shown no evidence that glyphosate causes reproductive or developmental harm. We're still examining this recently released study, but our preliminary assessment is that the study has significant limitations, including an unusual mode of exposure through daily injections. Alan Felsot, a professor of environmental toxicology at WSU, tells me he also questions the study methodology, saying the rats were injected with an unusually high dose that goes directly into the animal's system. He writes, doesn't seem very realistic as an exposure pathway, and the dose is absurd. Meantime, the researchers defend their dosing, characterizing it as conservative.
This exposure level was about a quarter of the known toxicity level for glyphosate.
Dr. Skinner stands by his study. That's not to say he thinks his study should stand alone. He strongly believes the public needs to push for more studies, ones that focus specifically on the impacts of glyphosate for generations to come.
If this particular study gets repeated several places, then we need to actually take appropriate action to remove it from the marketplace.
Everybody's interested to hear where this is going to go.
Back at the farm, Meyer knows it's not as simple as pulling Roundup from the system until we know more. After all, it's part of the foundation of modern farming. But he hopes the scientific community will investigate further and help boost farmers to their ultimate goal.
And their goal is to leave this better than they found it.
So, to say the least, it is complicated.